Good morning, Theories of Play students. Okay, Dr. Adams and I have agreed that since I set up your activity plans so far and have approved the ones that I have, I'm still waiting to hear from a few people, and we've set up your times for doing the activities, that I will be the person, as you know, observing them on the day that you do them, with the exception of a few people who are in different situations. So if you're in that situation, you can ignore the part about me observing. um, so the assignment that's due Friday, November 3rd, in 2 days, is this particular implementation assignment, which is worth 100 points. So I want to make sure that I've been clear with you about it being submitted, and that it absolutely must be submitted on time, because I have to go to the teachers at the ELC and share these plans with them so they're aware of what's going to happen in their classrooms and also can plan around what you're doing. So just make sure you go through all of the requirements here. There are some things in here that are a little more than what you did last time, where you basically just told me what you were going to do and I approved the activity. So there's a few things I'll point out here. This is an activity that's based on the principles of emergent curriculum, the children's interests, and they're supposed to inspire creativity, problem solving, and so on. Okay, including things like symbolic thought and critical thinking skills, as well as all these other pieces. So be considering those. You don't have to address all of them, but you might want to consider how your activity does or does not reflect these pieces so that you're aware of that. These are self-selected play themes, which I've already talked to some of you about in terms of changing some of your activities. And if I've approved it, you got it. You want to look at content of chapter readings and be able to reference, at least for yourself at this point, what you have learned so far in the class and how what you're doing applies to that. So there is a template below, and some of you will not be doing it at the Early Learning Campus. And if you've already arranged that with me, you're fine. So you can ignore that part. Some of you are in different programs and have different needs. And it says here you will turn it in Blackboard. So there is a written component and a 30-minute in-person implementation of the activity in a small group of children. Okay, that's why I need to get this to the teachers so they can help get this arranged. And go ahead and fill out the template here. So rationale in a short paragraph, describe what led you to choose this theme and activity. So if there are 3 of you, some of you are doing this in groups of 3, you need to all talk about what this is and give your rationale for it. And then you're going to put here where it would be implemented in a classroom, and what its name is. Don't try to name it something cutesy. You don't need to do that for me. I think you know me well enough by now to know that. Just give it some kind of name. If you need help with the name, let me know. I'll help you. I've probably got 5 million names of lesson activity plans in my head, and I'm happy to help you. Don't get hung up on that part. Learning objectives. So when we say learning objectives, we're not talking, remember, this is emergent curriculum. We're not talking about outcomes that are predictable. we're saying what we think the children are getting out of this activity. So, for example, if you are doing an activity with water and it's just water play with different materials for kids to interact with the water, they're getting sensory motor experiences. They're learning about not measurement like in math, but they're learning that different containers can hold different amounts of water, right? So this doesn't have to be, we're not talking about academic learning. We're talking about what are the things that children are learning about as they're doing. So we're not testing them on this. We're not expecting them to know things. I hope that helps a little bit. If you need help with that, let me know. I'd be happy to help you with that. But certainly all of your activities have sensory motor experiences in them that allow the sensory system to experience integration of information for the activity that, for whatever it is that they're getting out of the activity you're doing. You can look at the early childhood standards that you think apply, and you should just put the standard and the benchmark. So make sure you all agree on those. There are 4 that are required for this assignment. Again, if you're doing simple activities, you should be able to find these really easily. So just let me know if you need help, but you should be okay on that one. So you're going to put context here. This is where you're going to get into the details of what you're actually going to do. Many times when you get into this part, you realize, oh, we haven't thought about this, we haven't thought about that. So just make sure you describe the room, describe where you're planning to do it, and really think it through. Then here, list all your materials and resources and who's getting them, by the way, please. I'd like to know that, and how you're providing them. Remember, this is not an assignment where we want you to go out and buy anything. This is an assignment where you should be able to use things that are readily available. Most of the teachers have said that if you needed things from their classrooms, they would be happy to provide them if they know far enough in advance that you're going to need them. Okay, now you get into your procedure. So here's yours, just very, very simple. This introduction guiding questions. This is just basically a very quick and simple conversation with kids about the materials and anything about them that you want the children to know. And this involves like explaining if there's something that you want them to think about in terms of how to use the materials. This would be a good time to do that. So really, in this, I'm going to make you be very specific, because before you do something like this, especially in a limited way like this for only 30 minutes, you really need to be intentional about what you're going to do. So now you're going to look at modifications for different learners. What's written here are play skills that are less mature, play skills more mature, and then children who are emergent students learning English. So even if you don't have any children like that in the group, I would like for you to consider what you would do in that case. So think about what you're doing and how you would allow for a modification for a child who maybe has never played with water before, if to use that example. What might you do to help with that? 2 things. And then in terms of fine motor skills, what might you do for a child who can't pick things up as easily as some children of the same age? Then what if you have a child who's got a lot of experience with this type of material and has the ability to do much more with the materials because of that. So what will you do for them? How will you keep that play interesting? And there's a chapter about that in Learning Theories Today. So in your text, Early Childhood Learning Theories Today. And then in terms of bilingual, it says bilingual, children who are learning English, what would you do for them? How would you work with that? How would you make sure that it was relevant for them? So if you need examples of how to modify things that way, let me know and I can help you. One important way you can do it is make sure you know how to say the basic words in the language of origin of the child. And I will say, it does say bilingual here, but my experience with this population is they are actually multilingual. There are often many languages spoken in their homes, not just two. So, and they're learning English. So something you can do is provide some kind of information in the language of origin. So maybe you would have, like in Spanish, the word for water is agua, right? So you could do simple things like that. But let me know if you need more help with that one. And then you're going to add this part to the end, and that will be due on December 12th, which seems like a long time away right now. So basically, what's going to happen here in terms of your implementation criteria, just please look through these because this is Dr. Adams' rubric for this assignment, and I will, as I have been all semester when I took over for her for a little while, I will be just using the rubric to grade it. So if you, again, just please go by the rubric, but I hope this little short explanation helps you to understand what you're actually doing here that's due on Friday.